Okay, so in the last video we ended off here. We were able to show the total units sold so far of this SKU, and we were able to show the total units purchased of this SKU. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to show how we can match up the two. So how do I know, if I want here, how do I know the amount paid for the units in this sale? And once again, we're going to have to pull down from this table the price that we paid for those units for the amount of units sold. Okay, so now, normally there's something in Excel called index match. And let me explain to you how index match works. Index takes a range. So let's say, for example, we'll take the range of we'll take this range. Here, it's not behaving, so we'll just take O to O. Okay, so in that whole range, the O column, if I put in, let's say, the number 4, so index will tell me what shows up in the 4th row of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get the number 6. Right? If we do index 00 and we do 5, we'll get the number 2. So what this does is it takes a column or range, and you give it a row number, and it pulls down the value from that row number. If I was looking, for example, in M to M, then we can get the word dog, because dog is over here, the 5th thing in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So index is very helpful in that it allows you to pull out values from another table, if you know the row number. Now, how do you find the row number? Let me introduce you to another formula, and this is called the match formula. So you go match, and you say to match, I want you to find the word dog. Okay, that's called the lookup value. And where do I want you to look for it? I want you to look in this row M to M. So in M to M, I want you to find the word dog for me, and 0 means an exact match. We'll get back to what that means a little later. Okay, so where's dog? Well, it's in number 5. So over here, you put in the row that you want, and it pulls out the value. Over here, you put in the value you're looking for, and it pulls out the exact row. So how can we put these two formulas together? Well, it's really cool. If, let's say, I want to find, if I have car over here, okay, and I want to know how much I paid for a car, what was the price for car? So then I could just do equals index, where I want to get my data from, I need to know what the price was, so I'll tell it to look in the table price. But which row am I telling it to look at? Should it look at row 1, row 2, row 3? Well, I say, you know how I want you to know which row? The way I want you to know which row is I want you to match this word car. Find the word car in the M column, in the SKU column. Okay, and I want it to be an exact match. So we're closing that up. So that's a little match formula. That's its own self-contained formula. So when this runs match, it says, let's look for this SKU car in the SKU column. And it's going to look here and it's going to say, hey, that's number 1. So this is going to show up with the number 1. The result of this match formula is 1. Then when it does index, look in table 5 price, and get me the value from 1. So you're going to end up with $1 being the end of this formula, which is what we get. Okay, and we could just turn this into dollars so it looks all pretty. So what this does, but when you put index and match together, you end up being able to use values to look up values in another table or in another array, in another range, and then pull out data from another column. Sumifs and index match are both extremely helpful. So this is what we're doing with index match. In this case, we're doing a very simple index match to pull data from here. We say we have car here, so we're going to match car and car, and we're going to pull, by matching car and car, we're going to pull what the price is. That's how an index match works. Now, over here you can see that we really need an index match with 2 criteria, because we need to pull the data where the SKU is the same. We need car to match with car, but we also need it to pull based on the amount of units. So over here there's been total sales of 4 units, and since there's been total sales of 4 units, we don't want it to get from the first purchase of car, we need it to get from the second purchase of car. Now, unfortunately, there's no built-in way in Excel where you can do an index match with 2 criteria. So we're going to have to create our own little solution to creating an index match with 2 criteria. Now, you can do it with array formulas, but here's another way to do it. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to create something called a helper table. Okay, we'll just call it helper. And in helper, we're going to make something called SKU, and then we're going to have something called block. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to assign each SKU a range of numbers that it owns. So we'll put in car, we'll put in dog, and we'll put in horse. And then for each one, we're going to make a block of, let's say, 1 million. So this is 1 million. We can actually do like this. We can do 1, 2, 3, and then we can do block total, and we can have this equals this times 1 million. Okay? Then we can fill this down. So now, every time we add a new SKU, it's going to end up getting its own individual million block value. Now we're going to see why this is helpful in one moment. We're going to turn this into a table. So car is the million, dog is 2 million, horse is 3 million. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in block. So this, we're going to say, since this is a car, I want you to pull from the million range. And since this is car, I also want you to pull from the million. But this is dog, so I want you to start at 2 million. So over here, the total number of here is going to be 1,000,003. And this is going to be 1,000,006. This is going to be 2,000,002. This is going to be 2,000,005. This is going to be 3,000,005. And based on that, we'll be able to do an index match by using the million number. So in essence, if you want to understand logically what we've done, is we've combined the SKU value and the total units value into one big number. And that's how we can really do an index match using two criteria. So if we look at block, we first have to do an index match. So we have to do an index, which is over here, to find the correct number. And we want to match that to, we want to match the SKU, and we want you to look over here to find the correct SKU. And that is going to get us, in this case, 1 million. And then we want to add the total units purchased. And then we are going to hit enter. So this is 1,000,003, this is 1,000,009. This is 2,000,002, 2,000,007, and 3,000,005. So now each SKU combined with the total purchase gets its own unique identifying number. Let's do this over here as well. We're going to create a block value. So we're going to do, again, equals index. First we have to get the base block, and we have to match that. We have to match the SKU to the SKU over here. And we're going to put in a 0, and then we're going to close that up, and then we're going to do plus total sales. So here also, now we have a block ID for each one. Okay? Now you see that we can simply match up block IDs to block IDs in order to tell us where it belongs in the total. I actually left that a 0 here, so gotta put that in. So we can now match up block IDs to block IDs to tell us how much we paid. So how much should we pay for these units? Well, this is block number 1,000,003, and this is block number 1,000,003. However, this is block number 1,000,004. So we want this block number of 1,000,004 going to the next higher number, which is 1,000,009. We want it to be part of this category, not part of this category. So we're actually going to do this a little different. We're going to do plus total purchased minus the amount of units here. So this really says from 1 million, this is from 1 million to 1,000,003. This is from 1,000,003 and up. If we add more units purchased in car, let's call this 5/1/2017. And we'll buy another 5 units and we'll pay $6 a piece. Now this goes from 1,000,009 to 1,000,014. So now we can do a pretty simple index match. We can do like this. We can do equals index, and we're going to get the total price paid. And now we're going to match the block number. Let's see. We're going to match the block number. We're going to match the block number to, we're going to say look in here to find what thing to match it to. And in this case, we're going to do 1, which is less than. So this is not going to match it exactly. It's going to match it to the number that's equal or less than to that. So let's do that. The other thing is you have to sort the smallest to largest. So now, this is 1,000,003. So this is going to pull down the amount paid of. We have to actually take off -1 from the block ID. -1. There we go. Okay, now it's going to work. So this goes up until 1,000,002. The amount paid we know is $1. This goes from 1,000,003, so it starts from 1,000,003, where the amount paid is $2. This is 2,000,001. 2,000,001 matches down to 2 million because 2,002 is higher. So this is $3 purchase. This is 2,000,002 already, so it already gets knocked up to the higher price. This is 3,000,000 because we only bought one unit. 3,000,000 gets matched at the $5 price, and this also gets matched at the $5 price. So this will always tell us our amount paid. So this is what we've done. We've done a clever index match using two criteria by creating this block ID business, which we use to help us put it all together. Now, if you sort this column, everything's going to get broken because the total sales, remember, is based on looking at all the rows above it. So what you would do is, in order to hard code this, is you would take this, you do Control-C to copy, and then you would paste values. And once the values are pasted in there, now that's hard coded in there permanently. This, however, is not using any cell reference, so now we'd be able to sort the table however we want. We can sort it by date, and we could sort it by SKU, and everything will stay the same because total sales has been locked into place. We can sort it by any way we want, and we'll keep the same thing in place. However, also, if you would ever want to sort this table, you'd have to do the same thing. You'd have to take total purchase, you'd have to copy it, and you'd have to paste values over here. And if you want block IDs, you'd also have to take this, you'd have to copy it. No, you actually don't need to copy block IDs, so you can leave this in place. So this also, you'd also want to paste values, because once we know the amount paid for any given transaction, we'd want to hard code it. So we do paste values. So that's how you would solve that problem. It's a pretty tricky problem. Seems simple at first, but once I started thinking about it, it turned out to be pretty interesting. And this is the solution to that. And through this, you've learned a couple of new interesting things. You've learned how to use sumifs. You've learned how to use index. You've learned how to use match. You've learned how to use index and match together, which is really where index match the power is. And you've also learned how to use a helper column to create block IDs in order to do index match with multiple criteria. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you out.